just really want to do comedy and I really want to do a love story because I'm great at being in love on screen, not so much off at all. I'm not getting the chance to like dance and like do comedy and like commercial. And she was just like, so basically you're pissed because they're giving you good roles and not treating you like a piece of meat. And I'm like, when you put it like that, I think that even if you don't verbalize your political opinions, I think that they will reflect in your work. And I think that that's important. I choose to be as stupid as it is, innocent and naive and repeatedly heartbroken over being, I guess, guarded and cold and safe. Because I think that might be a boring way of existence.
Over the next half hour or so, Janvi, I'm going to chat with you about being a Gen Z actor, star, influencer brand. And my first question is that is being an artist at this point in contemporary Hindi cinema, is it made up equally of these four things, or is one thing more important than the other?
I really think it depends on the individual and what they prioritize. I am of the belief that nothing speaks louder than your work and what you do in front of the camera and the choices that you make as an actor. But I've been made to realize that, especially in our country, it's kind of a wholesome package, and you do have a responsibility to uphold, a public image. And of course, it doesn't hurt to have a social media following because it's a great way to earn money through brands and so on and so forth. But I guess it's just important to remind yourself that that isn't the job. That's a consequence of the job. Those are perks of the job. And what you're here to do is really perform and, do memorable work and hopefully touch people's lives through your work. It's very easy to feel a sense of importance when you do well in these other aspects of the game.
You have millions of people following you on Instagram. Are you saying that that could potentially give you a false sense of success as an artist? In fact, when it is not very much artistry, it's something else.
I think social media propagates that notion. You can focus on the 13 million people that are putting hearts on any rubbish you post on social media, or you can focus on the trolls that are commenting on everything else that you do. I, for a very long time, wasn't very active on social media. I was kind of averse to it. I wasn't very good at it. And I thought that, that's me kind of preserving my approach to my profession. But I've just learned that there's no need to take anything that seriously. Only take your job seriously and not yourself that seriously. On social media, if you feel like posting something, post it. If people like it, they do. If they don't, they don't. But that's a very small part of what you're meant to do. And if you can enjoy it, then great. If you can earn money through it, even better. But that's really all it is.
Janvi, you say often in interviews that you really want to be a better actor. You want to win a national award. So what is the riyaz that you do? Do you do specific things to hone these skills?
There were things that I did. I had a very methodical approach to it. I did my dance classes. I saw X number of movies a day. I did Hindi tuitions, I did this, I did that, I spoke to filmmakers, I sat in on narrations, dad's narrations, I tried going on as many shoots as I could. But I really think nothing teaches you better than being on the job and keep yourself open to experiences and be observant as a human being. I don't think that anything helps more than that. You need to have educated opinions about people, about life, about politics, about your own culture. And so just educating yourself as a human being is very important, is what I've learned.
When you say educate yourself as a human being, does that mean reading more, putting yourself out of comfort zones, sort of having experiences that are not traditionally your, space?
Exactly. And I think that I've led a very sheltered life. And so the maximum amount of freedom that I actually get is when I'm shooting and when I'm on outdoor schedules, which is why every time I get an off day, like I'm out of the hotel doing as many things as I can, interacting with as many people as I can, reading as much as I can, watching cinema from all over the world. Just, I think, learning about your history, your country's history, because at the end of the day, you're representing these people, and if you don't know anything about them, how are you going to know what their voice is and speak in their voice and represent them or relate to them?
But Janvi, you just talked about sort of having a political perspective, but the truth is in this country, it is dangerous for actors to have political opinions. So do you mean that that's purely for yourself, a political perspective? I mean, it's not really to share with anyone.
I think each to their own, but I think whether you choose to share it or not, I think that will inevitably reflect in your work, the way that you interpret characters of certain social classes, their wants, their desires, their opinions, the scripts that you choose. I think that even if you don't verbalize your political opinions, I think that they will reflect in your work. And I think that that's important, especially to be a wholesome artist. Because what is art if not a reflection of humanity? And as artists, we do have a responsibility to show a reflection of where our society is at and where we should be. Opinions is very important. Otherwise, you'd kind of be a khokla artist, I think.
Yeah. So, Janvi, are there things that make you a good actor that become a problem for you in life?
I think that I'm a very hardworking and sincere actor. And I think if nothing else, I try to be as honest an actor as possible. I think that if anything, I might... Sometimes I feel like if I'm not feeling completely exhausted and drained and broken after a schedule, then maybe I haven't given it my everything. And I think that's something that I'm learning from the film that I'm doing right now, because we had one schedule which was like, I think it broke me physically and mentally. And then the schedule that I'm on right now is feeling like a holiday. It's feeling like a breeze.
What film is this, Janvi?
I'm shooting for the remake of this Malayalam film called Helen.
Yeah.
And I love working with Mathu sir. He just makes life so easy, which is why I'm not suffering enough. So I feel like I need to inflict like some amount of anxiety on myself to feel like I've delivered, which isn't always necessary, I think.
You know, Janvi, this was a couple of years ago. I remember this party. I think it was for Bela Bajaria at Karan's house, right?
Yeah, I remember.
And there was you and in the room, and there was Ananya, and there was Tara Sutaria, and there was Kiara. And I did an interview with Kiara a few days later, and I was like, I told her that I was in that room looking at all of you, and you're just these gorgeous, smart young women. And but how, I asked Kiara, how do you stand out? Like, does it make you nervous when you're in a room like that, surrounded by other women who fit into the same roles? And she said, maybe my USP is my ability to be extremely Indian, but also to be glamorous when the role requires it. So do you at all, Janvi, think about these things? Do you think that you have a USP?
I mean, if I do, then I don't know it. And the thing is, ma'am, I really respect and have a lot of love for all of my contemporaries. I really don't know what my USP is. I'd like to think that it's that मैं जान लगा देती हूँ अपने काम पे, but I know that they do the same. I mean, we're in artistic community, you learn from your contemporaries. When you watch someone else's work and they're doing something that you feel like you can't do the same way, you respect it and you try to work on that aspect, which is how I approach it, I think. I really want to know what my USP is. I'm going to think about it at night. I want to find out. I think even I can look little Indian sometimes, I think.
Of course you can.
I don't know.
Tell me, Priyanka Chopra had told me this, that when she first started, she said that one of the things that really drove me was a producer saying to me that, if you don't do this role, I'll get someone else. Anyway, women are interchangeable. And she said that I really decided at that point that I'm never going to be interchangeable. Do you think that producers in Bollywood still think like that, and how do you ensure that you're not interchangeable?
I think that when you're at a certain stage in your career, you are, I mean, let's face it, you are interchangeable. There are so many talented, beautiful
It's still
people
true.
out there. I think so, and I don't even know if it's just for women. There are a bunch of, I don't know, I feel like unless you've really proven your mettle as an actor and done like genuinely memorable work and proven yourself as a bankable actor, I guess producers will think that you are interchangeable. And I think the agenda, I guess, looking at it from the point of view of like, I don't want to be interchangeable, I want to be irreplaceable, is maybe sort of, I think for me, a very external approach to it. I think the agenda should ideally be to just be the best version of yourself, because I think as an individual you will have things to offer that other people don't.
Yeah.
And if you put that across honestly, I think people will identify with that and fall in love with that.
You know, in the last 18 months through the pandemic, I think thanks to streaming, audience tastes have really expanded. We're all now watching South films. You know, all of us are gushing about Fahad Fasil, right? And you, of course, already straddle both worlds. Is this something that you consciously want to take advantage of, the fact that you already have a foot through your parents into the South industries?
Ma'am, I'm dying to do a South Indian film. If you look at my iPhone playlist, if you look at my Netflix most recently watched, they're all South films, especially Malayalam films. You mentioned Fahad Fazil. I just saw Trance recently, and I think that he's
outstanding.
Superb. I think that they're operating at such a high level of artistry. So I really want to explore that world, explore that avenue. And
so are you getting offers, or is this, should we give a shout out to filmmakers?
Please give a shout out. I think that, I mean, yeah, I've been speaking to a couple of people, but it's not, I haven't felt like, oh my God, I need to do this for anything yet.
Yeah. But of course, you're already doing the remake of, you know, you're stepping into Nayanthara's shoes in Good Luck Cherry, which is a remake of a Tamil film, and you just talked about Helen, which, you know, you're stepping into Annaben's shoes. These are amazing actors, right? Is it intimidating at all to kind of be reprising these roles?
It for sure is intimidating, but see, with the Helen remake that I'm doing, I have Mathu sir with me, and he is, Anu ma'am, the most wonderful human being to work with, and he just lets you be, and you just feel so enveloped in his positivity. Even if he asks you for one more take, he'll ask as if you're doing him one more. Please, we'll do one more. I'm like, what do you mean? It's my job. I'll do 100 more. So he's great, and like the kind of love that he gives and freedom he gives to you on set, and it's just such a simple and easy process. So I feel very secure, especially because he did the original. So I feel kind of relaxed, and I hope I don't regret feeling relaxed.
You know, I saw an interview, Janhvi, where you talked about how when you got the role for Takht, okay, you started watching Pakiza and Mughal-e-Azam on a loop. You started Kathak classes, you know, and you sort of threw yourself into it. And I think you said that Karan said, but you don't even have the script. You don't even know what you're doing, and you know, you're doing all these other things.
I still don't know what I was supposed to do.
You're so enthusiastic, okay? You're so energized by a role, and then that film doesn't happen. Or there's Dostana 2, which gets derailed. What is the disappointment of that, and how do you actually power through it?
Oh, it's heartbreaking. It's like, especially I think for me, because I have this horrible habit of dreaming and like fantasizing and visualizing and all of these things. And just, in fact, Anu ma'am, 2 days ago, I was expecting to get signed on for a film that I was really excited to do, but I think because of dates that couldn't happen, or some sort. At least I was told it was dates. But again, in my head, I'd finished shooting the film, I'd worn all of my costumes, I'd done all of the comedy scenes, I'd had a blast. So it's honestly, it's like a heartbreak, but it's a huge part of the job. Like I feel like until I've signed the film and I'm on the film set, actually even then, Dostana, I was on the film set also. Like, until the film is nearing release, I don't think you should believe that it's happened.
Have you become better at dealing with rejection in the last couple of years since you began?
It sounds arrogant to say that I have something to offer, but I think that belief is necessary, especially if you want to make it and do work. And I think that I've slowly started identifying that, and that's made the rejection, I wouldn't say easier, but it's made me more patient.
What's the actual process? Because this is professional heartbreak, right? You have to move on. It's, you have to be resilient. That's part of your job. So do you have a process for getting over it?
I think it's to make the most of what you have. Like I said, when I realized that I wasn't going to be able to do this movie that I wanted to do a couple of days back, I got the phone call when I was on set. And as soon as I hung up, they said, shot ready. And I was like, I'm going to kill it in this shot. And if nothing else in the film, they'll see this shot and they'll be like, we should have made the dates work. But I had nothing to do in the shot. I just had to say hi. But like, I was like, no, one more. So मैं और अच्छे से hi बोलूंगी. And you were just like, relax. But
good for you. I was reading this interview, Janvi, that you did, where you talked about how, when your mom talked to you about her career, she would tell you these funny stories about, how she had like 103-degree fever and she was dancing in the rain, or how some co-star was burping during a love scene. But tell me, did you ever talk to her about acting and about what makes for a better actor?
I did, and I think that our favorite pastime together was watching movies. And I think just seeing the things that she responded to, the things that she was like, did you see that? Or like, did you see how she's not even aware of the camera? Or did you see how she's using her eyes? Just hearing things like that, I think really stuck with me. But I think two things that she said that I think will always hold true is that if you're not an honest person, one day or another, it's going to show on screen. And if you're not feeling it, no one else is going to feel it.
But does that mean, is the logical sort of extension of that to be a good actor, you have to be a good person?
I think so. And I don't know. I think the definition of a good person is very relative, but I think what she meant, or at least what I understood from it, is that if you're a fake person in real life, in your interactions, in your relationships, then I think that becomes habitual. And then if you don't search for truth in your relationships, if you don't identify honesty in other people, then how will you know to reflect it on screen?
You also said, Janvi, that because you're a producer's daughter, I think this was in reference to Gunjan Saxena, you said that I have a ballpark estimate for the most optimistic outcome for a film. You said you were able to calculate that because you've grown up around that. And I know Arjun, for a fact, is sort of this whiz with numbers and dates and all the rest of it. Tell me, does that ever come in the way of you picking a project? Do you ever sort of put monetary calculations or success failure calculations when you're looking at scripts?
I think that if I did, my choices would be very different. Because I don't think that I've chosen safe project, or like I think typically commercially viable projects, I think. But there is a ballpark estimate always in my head. Like, but I think that's more dependent on अच्छा ये film का budget इतना होगा, इतने दिनों में खत्म हो जाएगा, तो producer safe है, मतलब कोई नुकसान नहीं होगा. So I like thinking like that a little bit.
But tell me, as an actor who is just in the sort of foundational years of her career, when you are moving up the ladder, when you're trying to make choices that are sort of commercially kind of, you want those successes. How do you balance between that as well as trying to be authentic as an actor? Is it, what everyone says, one for them and one for us? Is that how it works?
So far, ma'am, I've only been doing the one for me, one for me, one for me kind of films. I haven't done the one for them. And the thing is that now I want to do the one for them, because that would also be one for me, because I'm dying to do comedy and I'm dying to do one of those. I can cry well, but I can also make you laugh, and no one's letting me make them laugh. And I promise I can do it. So I really want to try that also.
Are you just not being offered those roles?
The ones that I was offered, again, there were date issues, or they weren't as exciting as I'd want them to be. So yeah.
Janvi, tell me what is as exciting, because the truth is, in a lot of hardcore commercial movies, the women have sort of 3 songs and 3 scenes, and it is the hero's burden to carry the role. Now, is that a film you might be willing to do if it's with some, mega star?
I've realized I like being the center of attention on my film sets. I like it when the director's focusing on me and discussing my scenes and how my character arc. And I think that it gives me a lot of security as an actor when I have a well-written, well-defined character on paper.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm good enough at this point to take a role that's half-baked and make it amazing on screen yet. But having said that, I would love to do the 3 songs and maybe not the 2 scenes. Maybe I'd be a little sad about that, but that's what I'm saying. I'm looking for something where there's the 3 songs and there maybe 30 scenes.
You want it all, basically.
I do. I remember I went to meet Zoya sometime in the middle of the last lockdown. And I was I'm only doing these roles where I'm the protagonist and it's revolving around, and she's going through hardships, so they're relatively serious roles and there's a bit of comedy, but it's a lot of heavy lifting, I guess, and I'm not getting the chance to dance and do comedy and commercial. And she was just so basically you're pissed because they're giving you good roles and not treating you like a piece of meat. And I'm when you put it like that. No, but that's not I want to do it all. I think it is important to widen your horizons and your reach. And I think what I mean is that I just really want to do comedy, and I really want to do a love story, because I'm great at being in love on screen, not so much off at all.
Tell me, a couple of days ago, I saw on your Instagram feed, you posted a picture of yourself and you looked lovely, and you said something about wanting to be born in the 50s or remain in the 50s, or, something like the fact that those are the eras that really speak to you. But tell me, what is it about that time and those films that speak to you?
It is the innocence, and for some reason, films felt less like projects then, and felt more honest and more progressive somehow. I just resonate very deeply with that time. And I don't even just mean with Hindi cinema, even all of Audrey Hepburn's movies. Roman Holiday is my favorite. And there's an innocence that's lost, or at least rare now.
This innocence that you need to have, this vulnerability that you need to have as an actor, right? This ability to observe that you need to have as an actor. How do you nurture that when you're also required to frankly have a thick skin? Because like you said, the trolls are not kind. You probably answered questions on nepotism in every single interview you've ever done. So you're at the same time required to be extremely vulnerable, but also very thick-skinned. You're required to be innocent in a way that you're emotionally open, but also closed because you're a public person and, we're all curious about everything about you. How do you nurture this part of your soul?
I don't know. I guess that's why they say that it's a tough profession. You have to take your work seriously. You shouldn't take yourself seriously. You have to be so sensitive and affected on screen, and but you need to shield yourself off screen. I don't think that anyone's cracked it really. And if they're saying that they have, then they should write a book, or they're definitely like a saint or not human. And I need to learn from them, because I really haven't. And I think that it comes down to choosing, and I choose to be as stupid as it is, innocent and naive and repeatedly heartbroken over being, I guess, guarded and cold and safe, because I think that might be a boring way of existence.
So better to be like this and get hurt occasionally.
Yeah, and then like cry in front of the camera. It might even help you. You wouldn't have to use glycerin in those scenes.
So it's all grist for the mill, right? It's all stuff you can use eventually.
That's what I do. I store it down. I'm like, अच्छा आज कुछ बुरा हुआ मैं याद रखूंगी, and then कल scene पे निकाल दूंगी.
The preferences of Generation Z for the type of content we consume has majorly evolved from what we call the Bollywood masala blockbuster genre. So, and we are becoming more inclusive for different sexualities, gender identities, and class and caste differences. So, do you think that production houses and writers are ready to keep up with today's demands?
I think that they are, and I think that they've identified that there's more virtue and I think respect in offering new content. And I think that audiences are so smart these days, they won't settle for superficial cinema. But having said that, theaters have remained shut for a while, and I think OTT audiences are very different from theatrical audiences, and I think that the overlap is slight. And so I guess in order to identify how we've recalibrated our tastes, theaters will have to open. But I do think that we've evolved as an audience, and I think that as artists, like, you won't settle for the same kind of content that I think maybe we would have before.
I have to tell you, one of my favorite performances of yours is from the Ghost Story. This is the first segment directed by Zoya Akhtar. It's absolutely stunning, and it's my favorite story of the 4 stories that was made. And I really go back to that particular, segment. It's so eerie, and you performed so well, the role of a nurse, Samira. And I want to know, how did you prep for the role, and how was it working with Surekha, the late and amazing Surekha Sikri, and Zoya Akhtar? How was it? How did you prep for the role and your experience with them?
It was a dream working with them. Zoya ma'am was hands down, I mean, obviously because she's so experienced, the most clear director ever. Like, she just knows what she wants and she won't waste time in helping you get there. And Surekha ma'am obviously is like a force of nature, and I feel so lucky that I saw her perform. In fact, in most of the scenes after she'd perform, all of us on set would feel like clapping, and on more occasions than one we did start clapping. Like, you'd feel goosebumps because she's just that good. And so the way that I prepped for that scene was, so I have this lady called Asha who stays with me, and she's Kannadiga, so she has that slight accent, and Zoya did that. And so I would just record Asha saying some of my dialogues, and then I try to replicate it the same way. And so if you notice, all of the H's are silent in everything that I'm saying, and that's how she speaks. And then Zoya gave me a very extensive backstory, which was very helpful. And yeah, that's how we prepped.
Janvi, thank you so much. This is really lovely, and thankfully the internet held out long enough for all of us to chat with you. Hope to see you soon in person.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Take care.